Hello all. Today I'm going to teach you guys some MultiVersus rigging, or just general modding, like rigging tips and tricks, so we can make our mods faster and easier. So I'm just going to start by importing the mod, just a random mod I got off the MultiVersus. It's a little funny guy. So as you see, there's a couple, I'm going to teach you guys like how we're going to fix this model, because there's a couple issues. One, he shaded like polygons. He shaded flat. We need to fix that. Two, we have to get rid of this sword under his foot. But how could we select everything without getting in the way? And three, he has several textures and materials. How can we deal with that? So we're gonna do that all one step at a time. So really, the first thing we want to do is get rid of this like shaded look. And there's a couple things that can fix that. One, it's usually object shade smooth. That'll fix it usually. If that doesn't do it, then you can look up some general troubleshooting for that type of stuff, but that should usually do it. Step 2, we want to get rid of this sword under him. So we clearly can't select. It's gonna take too long if we just select every vertex manually. So I'm gonna show you guys something something that's called element select. That's what I like to use. So if we press L and hover over a part of the mesh, always use face select for element. We hover over a part of the mesh we want to get rid of, press L, and as you can see, it highlights it as its own separate object. So I'm going to select everything here with L, press G to move it to see that I've got everything. I'm still missing something, so I'm going to delete what we have so far with vertices, select the last bit with L, delete the vertices, and then there we go. Now, on to the third problem. We have all these materials, and that makes our model really hard to work with in Unreal. So we're simply going to combine the materials. Now, before we do that, I have to mention that there's usually, let me show you guys an example of something, okay? So let's say we separate the face, yeah? And its UV channel is called UV map 2. So if you see we combine it, it messes up. We can't join our mesh without our textures messing up. But let me show you how we fix this, because I've got a lot of like messages about, oh, my textures aren't combining correctly. So how we fix this is we go to UV maps, check the UV map of just one part of our model, and name everything else that UV map. So once all the objects have one UV map and are all named the same UV map, you can then join the meshes. And you can see that there's a seam where we separated it. To get rid of that, I'm just going to select everything with A, press M by distance. There we go. Now let's combine materials. I'm going to go over to the material combiner add-on. Excuse my add-ons, I have too many of these. Material combiner add-on. And then I'm simply going to click, actually first things first, before you combine materials, always make sure you remove unused slots, just to get rid of any materials from stuff that you deleted on the mesh that's no longer being used, if that makes sense. So let me save the blend, and then I'm going to name it just Snorkel Kid. Save the blend. Generate material list. Save atlas to. It's gonna save in our just where our file is. Create atlas. Now you can see it's all one material, and that means that all of our UVs combined. So this is our whole texture. This model, I guess, uses different textures for the facial expressions. That's why it's all here. But yeah. So now for the rigging. This is where the most important tip is coming in handy, so I need you guys to pay attention. We're going to import Shaggy. Let's just say we're doing this over Shaggy. We're going to import Shaggy. I'm going to do the thing that I always do and reset the scale. And then I guess MultiVersus default axis is here on the X. Whatever. So I'm just going to go to top view. Press R for rotate mode on my model. Type in -90. Now we can see he's facing the right way. So I'm just going to scale him up. And now he's on Shaggy's size. Now there is a glaring issue, as we can see. His arms don't really fit Shaggy. And my model doesn't have an armature. How am I going to fix this? Well, there's a couple ways you can do that. One, you can just rig the arms yourself. Two, usually just use Mixamo. Or three, something useful that I like to do to always match proportions is hop into sculpt mode. Grab tool. Make sure mirror is on the y-axis. You can see that your brush is mirroring on the other side. And you can easily modify parts of your mesh. But as you can see, it's going to be a little hard to get that all the way down there. So I say first things first. We can see that this body is symmetrical. I'm going to hide this stuff in the way. The body's symmetrical. So I'm going to try to only select the body part of this. I'm going to deselect all this. I'm going to press C to enable this brush. Scroll out to enlarge it. Press middle mouse to get rid of all these vertices that I don't want. Probably around here. And then I do not want I'm not really worried about the legs or anything. So I'm just going to go to box select with B. Shift for deselect and drag it over all this. Don't want that. Now the last thing we want is the hands. So box select again. Select our hands. Separate this part of the mesh. Now we need to fix, this. So I'm simply going to grab this, start on this side. I'm just going to crudely drag it around until it fits. Now you can see I messed up, this messed up. And that's actually because I have mesh symmetry on in the edit mode. So I'm going to turn that off. You always want to turn that off. That usually wigs out. I'm going to do that again. Drag this down here. That seems good for a base to sculpt on. So now I'm going to select everything. Spacebar. Type in symmetrize, press enter. Now symmetrize doesn't work when we're on this axis, so instead I'm going to select this entire side of the model. Let me hide everything. Select this entire side of the model. Make sure it's split properly just by hiding it and getting a visual. I'm going to actually delete the vertices. You can see this shouldn't be here. And then I'm actually just going to use the mirror modifier. And you can see it's still not mirroring correctly. That's because we have to turn off X, put it on the Y. So now, anything we do here is just going to happen on the other side. So, oh yeah, and also I need to fix my viewport clipping. I'm going to go up here, clip start, 1, and just drag it out so I can see. And then I'm going to now make adjustments in sculpt mode, and this is for with the little adjustments, not the big adjustments like we just did earlier. So I can see this back of the elbow. Also, gotta turn on my sculpt symmetry, my bad. Actually no I don't, because the mesh is mirrored. And then I'm just going to drag this elbow back, because you can see the arm, Shaggy's arm kinda is dragging back. And then do the same thing for the hands. This is how I usually do my hands because it's really easy to line up in sculpt mode rather than edit mode, because you can just conform it to the proper shape. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, so you can skip to this timestamp if you want to just get to the part where I've already finished making my adjustments. For now, you can watch me do this though if you want. Gonna take advantage of my other brushes here and use everything to make this finger fit. It will never be perfect, especially for models like this. It's never gonna be perfect, and that's okay. Yeah, as you see, this thumb, like this, like anatomy is completely different. We're just gonna do it the best we can, though. It's okay. Alright, I'm just gonna leave it at this for now, so I can get back to the rest of the tutorial. So now we're done with the adjustments. I'm simply going to apply the mirror, connect our chest back to the rest of the mesh, get rid of the seam by pressing merge by distance. Seam is gone. Turn off mirror, turn off symmetry because that's gonna screw us. So now we're ready to rig. But let's be honest. Look at this. This is an absolute pain to work with. No one wants to work with this. So I'm gonna show you a good way to get rid of this completely and rig with a normal armature. So I'm gonna make sure I save my blend and then hide Shaggy in our model we're replacing. And now I'm gonna go in here. So we see there's a lot of bones we don't need. Hold on, let me pull up our meshes as reference. So my mesh, there's no inside mouth. There's not gonna be any face rigging. We don't need these face bones. We don't need these twist bones. Just make it complicated. All these extra like bones here, all these small bones, make it complicated. We don't need those. So hide these. Go into our skeleton. Go into edit mode. And you need to make sure you pay attention to every step of this, because it only works if you do it a certain way. You can't skip half of this and then come ask me questions about why it's not working. You need to pay attention and actually take note of what we're doing and why it works. So let's see. We see marker. We don't need marker bones. So I'm simply going to drag this out, expand it, search up marker, delete, select all these with box, delete all marker bones. And these big bones at the bottom, these root bones, delete. We don't need them. Delete, 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 delete. Now, all these face bones, let's find our head bone first. Find our head bone, hide it, delete literally everything else. And now, let's see what else we don't need. What are these? Prop. Okay, prop and attach bones. You don't need those either. I'm going to go through all the green ones. This varies based on your Blender theme, but I'm going to go through all the highlighted ones that match the name that we searched and select them. Now that all those are selected, I'm going to delete. Now, what are these? Okay, we need the lower arm and upper arm. Shield pivot, we don't need that. I'm going to type in shield. Delete all shield pivots. What is this? End. We don't need end bones. Just type in end and delete all the end bones. We don't need end bones for what we're doing. Let me specify that. We don't need them for what we're doing. But there might be like a day where you need them. So, delete all these. These, my bad. And then, all these twist bones, do not care for them right now. Delete all of these. Alright, we still have a bunch of extra tiny bones. Let's see what these are named. Shirt, we're not using the way, we're not going to set up our model the way Shaggy's is, but the separate shirt mesh. So delete shirt bones. What do we have here? Prop. Delete prop bones. Now, I think that's about all the extra bones. So you can see that we're looking clean already, but this still isn't going to cut it. So we're just going to File, Export. Sorry, File, Export, FBX. And then listen to these settings. Armature. Disable leaf bones. Scale. You can just leave it at 1, so we can just import. We're gonna import this right back. You're gonna see, leave the scale at 1, and then just turn off leave bones, export FBX. Also, wait. Make sure that you have, where is it? Limit to selected objects, because we have our other meshes hidden, so we only want it to export the armature that we have selected. So selected objects, export. Now delete this mesh entirely, import the one we just exported, Snorkel Kit FBX. Now turn on automatic bone orientation, import FBX. And as you can see, this is miles better to work with. This is something we can automatic weight. So delete Shaggy, you don't need him anymore. I'm going to go over here real quick, go into data properties, viewport display in front. So as you can see, this is much more appealing to work with. Let me save the file. So simply, instead of transferring weights, we're going to automatic weight. So select your model, select the armature with shift, control P with automatic weights. So as you can see, that rigs our model. Now of course we still have issues like this. I think this is from when we took apart the mesh. But as you can see, if we want to like weight paint, for example, it's going to be so much easier to weight paint. Turn off lock object modes. We can select our model, weight paint. This is so much easier to, weight paint. There's so much less bones in your way, all of that. And as you can see, you actually get better results most of the time with your weights, because automatic weight is actually pretty decent most of the time. So yeah, you get pretty good weights as well. So some simple weight painting. As you can see, when the arm moves, this whole bottom of the chest moves. We do not want that. Just gonna take that away. It's probably, and if that happens on this side, that probably means that it's happening on this side too. So take that away. And then here where the spine bends, we want this like part where it's splitting to stay completely uniform and still. So rather than using weight paint for this part, I'm going to go into edit mode. I'm going to use vert select. I'm going to just highlight this whole part and go to vertex groups and fully assign it to spine B, which is the bone we were just moving around. Fully assign it. As you see, it's still not quite where we wanted, because we have to go into weight paint, weights, normalize all. Perfect. Now another thing you can notice is that this snorkel isn't moving with his head, and his head is also deforming like like some mush. So hold on, I'm gonna select all bones, going to reset the rotation and location that I put on the bone, so Alt R, Alt G just in case. So and I'm gonna work on the weights on the head. So when I move the head up, I want this whole head to move, including his snorkel. So select our mesh, go into edit mode. Also, if you want to see your mesh in edit mode with the changes on the armature, you can go here up to these two tabs and look. Now we can see what our mesh looks like in edit mode when it's being affected by the armature. So yeah, anyways, I'm going to, this makes it hard to select the head and the back, so I'm actually going to reset this pose, go back, and then I'm going to go into this mode. I'm going to go to wireframe. I can't element select because it's all connected, so instead element select the snorkel, the back of the hair, and then use this brush, select whatever you call this, and just select all the parts of the head up to probably this line of the neck. Then go to vertex groups, head, assign, and then you need to also normalize it like we did before. So now the head mushiness should be fixed. It causes a little jank where the neck is supposed to be, as you can see, but I'd rather have it like this than how it was before. You can always go back and smooth these weights. This is just basic weighting to show you for the tutorial. Okay, now let's say this is fully done rigging. We're gonna save, make a new blend because things might crash, get messy. So we're gonna make a snorkel kid 2. Going to now delete this armature. Oh, silly me. Make sure you turn off automatic bone orientation when you're importing your shaggy back. Make sure this is off. Make sure it's off. It's gonna screw things up. Import it. Reset the scale again. Delete shaggy. Go to our model. Make sure it's assigned to this armature. While our model selected, we're gonna select the armature. Control P, object. Now our model is all rigged and assigned to this armature, and it keeps the weights of the automatic weighting we just did. Now let's say you're tired of opening and closing the game just to test your mod. An easy way to fix that, or another thing you can do, is select your skeleton, install the psk/psa importer, open up the side menu with N, go into your add-on, turn off scale down, and go to import PSA. And if you open the raw character dumps on the drive, you would see all the characters. You can just go into one of the characters. Let's do Shaggy, that's who we're replacing. Animations. And this is all his animations used in the game, probably most of them. Let's say we want to test out how his run looks. So we're just going to go to navigation, search, run, import. As you can see, the animation loads just fine, and we can see how our model's weighted, and we can fix our rigging issues off this animation alone. This is also just a fun little way to preview animations, see everything is working fine. Let's look at an emote. Where did we find that at? Probably taunts. Yeah, it's named differently for everyone. Let's try his character select enter. So as you see, that lets us preview everything perfectly. To get rid of this, I'm gonna hop into the animation tab. Make sure this is gray. Select all my keyframes with A, delete. Now the animation is gone, but the pose is still there. So I'm gonna go into pose mode, and then select all bones, and then Alt plus RGS to reset. Object mode. Make sure everything's selected, all transforms, and we're ready to export and put this in the game. I hope this helped you, and let me know what tutorials you'd like to see next.